Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday. It is the 31st day of May 2023, the last day of May. Believe that, going by real fast. I hope you're all safe and healthy today and that your family is safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health is being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field who, along with the first responders, are out here trying every day to save lives. Blessings also upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep streets and sidewalks clean and disease free, and those also that make deliveries of important things for our convenience. Double blessings to the men and women that are out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The victims also pornography and child pornography. The victims also prostitution and child prostitution, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators of these things. Double curses on those who profit from these things. And double curses on the perverts that create the demand of which other perverts provide the supply. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. There are nearly 600,000 men, women, and children homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. So we found out recently that Scott Perry is going to be stepping down as general manager of the New York Knicks. Quite frankly, I'm surprised it took so long because I thought that as soon as Leon Rose got his crew in there, and he seemed to be moving quick in that first summer of getting his team together, that Scott Perry would be out. But Scott Perry has been in there. He's lasted for 6 seasons. He's been there for 6 seasons. But apparently, according to some reports, his voice, his influence waned, which I expect. It didn't seem to be a right fit to me with Leon Rose and Scott Perry. Their styles seemed to not fit. The only thing they had in common, which is a great thing, is that they kept everything close to the vest. That's really good. That's part of the new culture of the Knicks. They keep everything close to the vest. That's the only thing they really had in common. So I'm not surprised that he steps down. I'm also be surprised. I would not be surprised if he got another job in the front office very quickly because, obviously he's accomplished. He's been in New York for 6 seasons. That's big time on your resume, aside from his Detroit and Sacramento and Orlando stints. So I wish the best to Scott Perry. Thank you for your service to the Knicks. But let's move forward. The thing is, everybody's now looking to see, as Knicks fans do, who we could get, right? Truth is, the Knicks have already what they need. They could easily promote Walt Perrin to the head of scouting and make him also the general manager. They could do that. They could promote William Wesley, Worldwide West. They could promote Gerson Rosas. They could do that. They could do anything they want to do here. Leon Rose could take on the mantle himself and be president of basketball operations and GM. That's been done before. So all of this, is not mean they're going to get. They could bring in somebody, but they don't have to, is my point. But what I find very interesting here, generally speaking, and I mean generally speaking, a new regime comes in, right? Let's say you get you fire a general manager. Generally, when a general manager, president of basketball operations gets fired, right? Generally, his whole crew goes with him. When I say his crew, everybody he hired in the front office, pretty much all his coaches, they get fired. And generally what happens, especially if a coach gets fired, he gets fired. Generally, most of his staff that he handpicked gets fired too. It happens a lot in the NBA. Not all the time, but it does happen a lot. It's normal, actually. So the thing that came to my mind when this happened, you see, Scott Perry and Steve Mills were part of the regime that brought in RJ, Mitch Robb, and Julius Randle. Okay, they brought in those 3 guys. Everybody else on the Knicks roster that's in the rotation was brought in by Leon Rose. Now, what does that mean? Well, it might not mean anything. But what could it mean? Well, one thing I'm pretty confident about, okay? One thing I'm pretty confident about, that whatever was going on in the Knicks front office, just logically speaking, Scott Perry would always have the back of guys he picked. That's not just Scott Perry. That's any guy, like any GM, any front office dude, even coaches. We saw how Tibbs wanted Derrick Rose, obviously. He wanted Joe, he wanted not Joakim, no, but he wanted guys that he had coached, guys that he knows, guys that he's comfortable with. Well, it's the same with the front office. Okay. So if there's one thing I know, if there was somebody that had the back of these three players in any trade discussions, if somebody that said, no, I don't want to trade him, it would be Scott Perry. Right? If somebody was to say, let's trade RJ for Donovan Mitchell, if there was a dissension in that front office, it was probably Scott Perry. If somebody said, let's go trade Mitchell Robinson for Miles Turner, which I think is stupid, but if there was any dissension in that office, it would have been Scott Perry. And if somebody said, I think Julius Randle has run his course, if there was anybody that would disagree vehemently with that, it would be Scott Perry, who went out to California with Steve Mills and signed Julius Randle to a 3-year deal, and then re-signed him to the $117 million deal. Okay? Well, technically, it was Leon and them that re-signed him. But my point is, if anybody was to have Jules back, it'd be Scott Perry. But now, Scott Perry's not there no more. What does that mean? Well, it could mean nothing. Or it could mean something. So, let's take this. I want to take Mitch Rob out this equation. So some of y'all still drooling about some fantasy, against the wall, talking about Miles Turner. Get out. We're not getting. The Knicks are not getting Miles Turner. I'm 100% sure about that. They're not getting him. They're keeping Mitchell Robinson. If anything, Mitchell Robinson will end up, going to the second unit if they get a KP or somebody like that, which is not that many people like that. But that's my point. But RJ, Julius, their strong backer just walked out the door. So if Leon was of a mind to move either of them, there's very little opposition in the front office for that to happen. Okay? And I read the thing about, Ian Begley saying, unless they get, some superstar or whatever, they're not moving Julius Randle. Got it. But there's going to be a move made. Like yesterday, my man Organic Nick, please look out his channel. Organic Nick pointed out in his show that if the Knicks were able to sign KP without moving Julius Randle, that they can put KP at the 5, Ju at the 4, RJ at the 3, and then move Mitch Rob to the bench. If they were able to do that, yeah, that would be really good. The problem is the money. Okay, the problem is the money. So this is the problem. The Knicks are $162 million. They're over the cap, over the tax. They got it, but that's not including them losing Derrick Rose's 15.5 and trading Evan Fournier's 19, which they're going to do. So you're talking about $34 million coming off the books right there. Now we're talking about KP. Now it may not happen the KP move. The Knicks could definitely. Some of y'all get really hyped. I'm hyped about KP. But if they don't get him, it ain't the end of the world. Some of y'all get trippy. I guess you can't help yourselves. But whatever. But if they did get KP, I'd be very happy, with or without Julius Randle. But the thing is, if they were to make such a move, it's the money that you got to watch. And that's why I keep telling y'all, don't stop, you're throwing names out there left and right with no regard to fit or money. Why can't we go get this one? Because we ain't got the money. Why can't we get that one? Because you have to remove somebody from the rotation and you ain't even thinking about that. And Tom ain't going to follow your advice and play more than 9 guys. Get over it. Okay, it is what it is. See, I try to accept what is. I'd rather him play 10 guys, but I know he ain't going to. And I ain't going to complain and whine like somebody on a rag because he ain't doing what I want him to do. It is what it is. He plays 9 guys. Okay? And he's going to continue to play 9 guys. The 10th guy ain't going to get a lot. That's how he does it. And that's common in the NBA. So anyway, you got to fit and you got to have the money. And you got to figure who's going to leave. Like we talked the other day about Alec Burks. And again, one of the reasons I brought up Alec Burks, which some of y'all still ain't getting, is because if you're going to get him, it's easy to go get him. It really is. But who is leaving your 9-man rotation for Alec Burks? That's question number 1. Okay? And for those of us that believe in Deuce McBride, as I do, I'm looking for space for him to move into the rotation. I don't want to add nobody else that's going to take minutes from him. And I want to see what the Knicks do with him this summer because this is the year you got to decide, either do it or get off the pot because it's time to play him. Okay, so he's going to be in the rotation. I expect him to be behind Jalen Brunson as the backup point guard, especially if they're moving Emmanuel quickly. So, and when I say if they're moving Emmanuel quickly, that's only if they're getting something like a KP back. Okay, so the move would be, and again, my man Chris Hauser said, 8th pick in KP for Julius and IQ. Hey, I'm all with that. But let's suppose the Knicks say, we want to keep Julius and add KP. Well, then you need the money. KP's going to cost you $30 million. He's going to be 3 years, $90 million. He's not going to be a 4-year deal. He's going to be 3 years, $90 million. Okay, that's about what he's going to cost you. Okay, let's be real about it. So you need $30 million off of your current situation to get him. All right, you need $30 million off your current situation. Well, we talked about Derrick Rose and Evan Fournier. If Washington wants Evan Fournier, okay, then you're not getting no 8th pick, and then you're talking about Isaiah Hartenstein, because now you're going to move Mitchell Robinson. See, Washington got Daniel Gafford. They're very happy with Daniel Gafford. They ain't moving off Daniel Gafford. At least they shouldn't. He played very well with KP last year. They probably rather them stay together. But if they know they're going to lose KP, they're keeping Gafford. They don't need Mitchell Robinson. So you're going to move Mitch Rob to the mob deep, and you're going to take that $8 million, and now Hartenstein becomes Washington's backup center. Okay, so now you're talking about 42. Now you can do a KP. Okay, now you can do him. Because now you don't have to worry about extending Obi until next summer. Okay, you got to re-sign that $162 million I mentioned. That included the $13 million for Hart. Now you got to figure out that figures all of that out. See, but right now with that scenario, Deuce moves up into the 9-man rotation. Okay, he becomes the backup point guard to Jalen Brunson. All you guys whining about Dante Fragento, stop it. First of all, he is an unrestricted free agent. But if he's playing really well for Golden State, they got bigger problems with him. They probably want to re-sign him to a $48 million deal over 3 years or less. They may even re-sign him to $27 million, mid-level exception, $11 million, like that, and move on with life. That's what I think they would do. Give him 2 or 3 years, $11 million, each, $33 million, and then move on with life. That's not. If I'm Golden State, I'm doing that. Then I got bigger fish to worry about. I got to worry about what am I going to do with Draymond Green? What am I doing with Klay Thompson? What am I doing with Stephen Curry? Is it the end of the era? That's bigger fish they got to worry about. They just lost Bob Myers, so I don't know what they're going to do, but they got bigger fish to fry. But I don't think they're going to let Dante Fragento go unless somebody throws a big boatload of money at him, and I don't want the Knicks to do that. Okay, so I'd rather see Deuce move up into the rotation. See, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about just getting names because they fit on my NBA 2K board. So, but with the move here of Scott Perry leaving the Knicks, you got to figure something could happen. Nothing might happen. Nothing might. They might just stay put with what they got. Like I said, they could always stay put. The Knicks are in a posture right now where they don't have to do nothing. They really don't. Some of you say, we just have to go get a shooter. We have to get this. We don't have to do nothing. But stay healthy and get ready for next season. But if they wanted to upgrade, again, we're talking about a tweak. One of the voices that I feel was keeping Julius in New York just left. Just left. Okay? With regard to RJ, I believe Leon would be willing, and I think Begley said Leon would be willing to move him if he got the right package back. But if RJ's part of a young core package, but it'd have to be as they talked about with Julius. It had to be something that's significant. It had to be somebody that could step in and start and be better than RJ is now. I kept telling you that from earlier this season. I'm not saying I want RJ traded. I do not. Let me be clear. I do not want RJ traded because I believe the Knicks drafted him and he's developing and I want him to close his career out in New York. And I want him to become what I believe he's going to become, the second coming of Jimmy Butler by the time he's 26 years old. And so now he's just going to be turning 23 next month. Okay. So I'm not really trying to push him out right now. I'm going to take my time, but listen carefully. Some of you emotional Knicks fans, if the Knicks feel by getting a more polished and accomplished player at that position now would get them to the finals, they're going to do that. Okay, that's what I'm saying to you. That's trying to be real with y'all. So in my view, if you're talking about, and it don't have to be a superstar. Matter of fact, it wouldn't be a superstar. It would be just somebody more polished and accomplished than RJ. Okay? So it could be somebody that's all NBA in the defensive side of the basketball, solid, like an OG Anunoby. It could be somebody that's a free agent, like a Grant. Somebody solid that could play that role on a professional level, knock down their open shots, lock down on defense. Not a superstar now, but solid. That's all you need. When you got a Jalen Brunson, and I'm telling y'all, you're going to have a shooting star in Quentin Grimes. When you got that, if you can get something solid at that wing spot and don't add a KP to it, now you're talking finals. Okay, you're talking top 3, top 4 in the East and finals right now. This is the window for the Knicks. This is why I'm saying right now they might do this. And there's multiple reasons that you got to look at on a bigger picture. So right now, look at each of the teams, okay? Boston just lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. They got to decide what they're going to do with Jaylen Brown. I don't think he's worth $200 million. I don't know if any. It's like with Julius Randle a few years ago. Everybody was making a big deal that he gave the Knicks a discount. He ain't giving the Knicks no discount. Ain't nobody was going to pay him $200 million. I don't care how many All-NBA teams he made. Nobody was going to pay him that. He ain't worth it. Because a $200 million player in a sea of $100 million superstars or stars is a guy that's going to take you to the finals. That ain't Julius Randle. He's really good, but he's not taking you to the finals. Okay, somebody had nerve to say, well, he needs that chip and that attitude to play well. Well, guess what? Logically speaking, if he needs to be a bad attitude toward his own teammates for him to play well, that's just logically telling you his teams will never win a championship. He'll have great stats, but he'll have bad attitudes and his teams won't win because he hurts his team. Okay, so that's why he didn't get no $200 million. He got what he was worth, 117. And I think Jaylen Brown is in that same arena, although Jaylen Brown's a little better, and he's definitely attitude-wise better than Julius Randle, but I ain't paying him $200 million. I'm sorry. And I don't want him on my team for $200 million. So they got a decision to make. They got a decision to make with their coach. 34-year-old coach did a great job. But some people, y'all like to point out how he gets out-coached. He's a young coach, and he was in the finals. He did really good for a young 34-year-old coach in the finals, taking over suddenly because of the other coach being out. So they got a decision to make there. Okay? So that Boston is shaky in that regard. Philly, they just hired Nurse because Nurse wants to coach Embiid. What's going to happen with Harden? I kind of think Harden is on the DL finish. I mean, he's not the superstar Harden no more. And I think that next year you're going to see him get locked up even more. So, and it's time for Maxey to come forward here. So I don't know what they're going to do either. Okay, they still trying to get rid of Tobias Harris, and some of y'all knuckleheads the nerve to try to get there for $180 million. What's wrong with some of y'all? He's a solid player, but he ain't no $180 million. What's wrong with y'all? Seriously. So no, eating up your cap and ain't making that much of a difference. He's solid. He's like get Grant, but I wouldn't pay Grant no $180 million either. Okay, so anyway, they got problems. Okay, turmoil. Okay, they got turmoil problems. Miami's got to figure out what to do now because they just found that they in the finals without Tyler Hero. He might mess up their chemistry. I don't know what's going to happen. But they got a bunch of dudes that overperform. Put it that way. Miami has overperformed this year. They really have. Okay? So I'm not, what I'm saying, and all of this, what I'm saying, and the Knicks done already figured out Cleveland. The Knicks are in a good spot to make a big move up in the East if they make the right moves this year. Like I said, even if they keep the same team, they're going to be good because all the youngins are going to get better. But if they make a tweak now, if they were able to get a KP and still keep Mitch Rob, we in good shape, yo. I'm trying to tell you. And even if they do it with Juju or without him, okay? So we're in good shape. So that's why this next move is important. And Scott Perry stepping down, this is going to be a very interesting summer, y'all. This is going to be a very interesting summer because Scott Perry had the back of his dudes. I don't know who else had their back, but Scott Perry had their back, and he's not there. That's one voice not there. And if they don't replace him with a cheerleader for some of these guys going in there, and they got the same crew in there, let's say they move up one of them guys I mentioned, I could see Rosas moving up into GM spot. I could see him. Not Wesley, because Wesley's is more of a street level, know everybody in the league connection guy, which you want to have like that. But as far as making GM moves, you need somebody that knows the game on a pro level and understands the talent. That is Leon Rose. I don't know about this guy Rosas, but Walt Perrin. That's Walt Perrin and Leon Rose. So I don't know. But they don't have to add nobody. They could just promote somebody from within and keep it. Or they could add somebody. Who knows? There's some talent out there. But we'll see what happens. But this is going to be interesting. So I'm thinking if RJ or Julius was going to be moved, this is the summer. Okay? This is the summer right here. So I want to see what happens. And then with like I said, they don't need a huge move, just a tweak. I already mentioned the guys. KP, Siakam, Grant, OG. Those are the type of guys that, or if they could swing a deal for Mikal Bridges, which I don't think, I'd be shocked if the Nets traded Mikal Bridges. That would be the worst move I've seen them make since they made the debacle back there with Billy King. I don't see them doing it. They want to build around Mikal Bridges. But if they did do it, something stupid like that, the Knicks would be, especially if you replace RJ with Mikal Bridges, you're going to the finals. Okay, you're a finals threat right there. Okay, so let's see how this works out. We don't need to trade away for. If you find yourself creating trade scenarios where you're talking about 4 and 5 of our players, of our rotation players going, you're already making the wrong deal. We don't need to do that. Okay, we need to move Fournier. Derrick Rose is organically he's going to be out because his contract expires, and then you're talking about either IQ or Obi, probably IQ because he wants to start and he might get that opportunity in a place like Washington where he's from. So that's why you're talking about that, but you're not trying to overhaul the whole team. You just want to tweak from your rotation, and from the rotation we're talking about a maximum of 2 guys. Maybe IQ and either maybe a RJ or maybe a Julius, but that's it. You don't want to really overhaul your squad right now. You got a team. You built and developed and drafted right. Just tweak it and we can get to that next level. Or no, and let's run it back and let RJ naturally develop and let's see how he does this year. We could do that. And I'm in favor of that. Because I think, now that Organic Nick brought it up, it is possible to get KP without trading Julius Randle and start him at the 5 and have Mitch Rob run Mobb Deep and trade Hartenstein and trade Fournier and trade IQ. That whole crew makes the money up. We get it done. And you know how Leon does his contracts. He could start KP. It could average 30 million, but he could start him at like 27, and let it grow, from there. Get that mess under the cap nicely. You understand? So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited about this summer. The Scott Perry walk. I'm excited about that too. I was wondering when it was going to happen, not if it was going to happen. So if Scott Perry's out, let's see who's in. I think they could very well, like I said, just promote from within, keep the inner sanctum as it is. unless it's going to be Leon making this decision, because Leon's going to decide. He's the one that molded this management team, and he's done an excellent job. And he knows he wants guys to keep their mouth shut, keep their arguments in house, keep a united front, and be in connection with the coaching staff and the team. And he's going to keep whoever it is. If it's anybody, it's going to be that. Okay, and I'm very confident in that. Leon Rose is a star here, y'all. He's the brain. He's the Don. For I call him the Don for a reason. Okay, so he's gonna make this decision, and I'm very confident he's gonna make a good one. Hopefully, he makes it soon, because the draft coming up. And I'm not saying the Knicks gonna draft anybody, but if they're gonna make a draft night trade, we'd like to, have our GM there, or at least somebody that's acting in that capacity, even if it's one of the guys from within. So we'll see. Anyway, it's gonna be exciting. Y'all enjoy your Wednesday. We get ready some exciting times. I got Denver in 5. Y'all have a good Wednesday. So.